Good morning. I'm Senator Black. Welcome to Focus on the News. Today, we're joined by Suzanne Satterfield. Suzanne, it's good to have you with us today.
Thank you.
We're going to be talking about global trans backlash. Bud Light is just the tip of the iceberg. And so we will launch into that. Suzanne, I know you've been looking at some papers this morning, and why don't we let you take it away?
Okay, well, as far as what I was reading about this morning is, as we've talked about, transgender is an issue not just here in America, but in other countries. And what I have a friend who wrote an article for the Christian Post last year, and he's here locally, Clint Thomas, and it's about trans activism in the squatter camps of South Africa. And it was very interesting when he was there last summer. He had mentioned that he says he was hit in the face with a small vehicle sitting off the side with the label U.S. Aid. He said, at first, I thought how great it was that our government was in the community helping meet basic needs. He said, but I noticed 3 to 4 people in and around the vehicle. So I approached the car with my hand outstretched to give them a flyer. The female driver asked what we were doing in the neighborhood, which I explained. Imagine my confusion and aberrance when asking her in return what U.S. Aid was doing in the community. Like this when she replied. She said, we're providing vital transgender services to the residents of, I believe it's pronounced Sloot. We refer them to our nearby clinic to receive free hormone therapy. We also have a surgery center available not too far away. So these people don't have running water. They don't have sterilized, facilities. They can't get vaccines, but U.S. Aid is going over there and helping them transgender.
Well, that's amazing. Under Obama, when he was in the White House, he ordered that the White House be bathed in rainbow colors, and they put up the lights, and they turned it into a rainbow White House. And but that was a pretty grotesque thing to do. But on top of that, they ordered that throughout the world, in our United States embassies, which have always enjoyed a great deal of respect around the world, now they would fly the rainbow sodomy flag and promote sodomy throughout the world. And we have lost our moral ascendancy. We used to be able to claim that we were a culture superior to the communist countries and these others because we had good morals, sound money, fair elections, all of these things, and they're just being swept away. That's a pretty amazing story. What do you think the people? This was in South Africa, was it?
Yeah, the name of the area. It's spelled Diepsloot. Yeah. And obviously, as many of these areas, so he said, one of the people he was talking to. So it's also, I guess, in Johannesburg area. Sounds like it is.
Yeah, kind of a suburb of Johannesburg.
Apparently. And so it says it's a squatter camp. He said it's about a 6.4 square mile township outside of Johannesburg.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing. I wonder what impression that gives young Black South Africans about the United States. How do they perceive us when we do that kind of thing?
I don't know how anybody, there's so many people that are heartfelt for people of impoverished countries. And, one of the things the United States has done has been very generous to, again, these impoverished countries, trying to help and so forth. And here where you think that we're trying to give them clothes and food, and you talk about these where they do the try and give them safe drinking water. Nobody would have expected this. I can't imagine even the most liberal person should be upset by this is what they're spending their money on. Why? And we need to know more about that.
Yeah, I agree. That's quite an amazing story that, here we're spending our money on USAID, going over transitioning and giving hormones and stuff to distort the normal human functions of sexuality. We used to, when I was little, we'd hear stories about what Nazis would do in the concentration camps, that kind of thing. I wonder whether there will come a time in my lifetime when people of other nations are talking about the US like we used to talk about the Nazis, where they say, yeah, the United States came in and they sexually mutilated children. They gave them chemicals that altered their body structure and suppressed their normal development as children. I mean, these are pretty hideous things that we're doing. So,
well, when you think about it, it's not like, these are vitamins. These are not vitamins. This is poison. They are poisoning bodies. And again, the U.S. has been usually known as a country of trust, right? A country, again, trying to help. This is not helping. This would be destroying. How dangerous to give these drugs even to people in our modern world but these people, again, who are so impoverished, and you want to interject this poison into them. It's mind-boggling to me of the amount of time and who came up with this and thinks this is a good idea instead of helping them get the real health care that they need.
Mm-hmm, yeah. One of our listeners just commented about the fact that illegal immigrants, penetrating the U.S. southern border can't be arrested as long as they self-identify as being LGBT, homosexual people. I don't know the facts of that. I'm not sure that we're arresting anybody. I think basically we're just funneling them. They come across the border, and they're indebted to drug cartels, which can then order them to do whatever needs to be done during American elections. So they've got this network of millions of people who can distort the American election. Anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about this huge flap over Bud Light and the fact that Bud Light has been advertising their beer as kind of a beer for transgender perverts, I guess. I don't know. Bud Light, the beer of perversion. I'm not sure what their slogan should be these days, but what a backlash they've got.
Well, again, the marketing rep that had taken what they meant by diversifying their customer base all the way to the other side. Abandoned. She was get away from the frat boy type of stigma. Why? That's what they've been known as, and the good old boy brand, and to take it so far to the other side, which is really a small percentage of people. I mean, right there, that's an automatic drag down of the brand, period, right? You've totally left its base. And why she's a female, and wouldn't think of, okay, broadening the base, then how about to women, just women? But instead she took the ball and she went to this person who's a caricature of women, and actually an insulting one of women and girls, because he really targets young girls. He mocks. That's what he does. He mocks young girls. He mocks women. If you watch him even for 30 seconds, you will see he's really making fun of us, is really what he's doing.
Well, it's interesting. They, Bud Light they really were putting on this big transgender program, and they wanted Bud Light to be identified with cross-dressing and that kind of thing. And really, beer drinkers are a pretty manly bunch of people, or womanly, but they're not, they don't tend to be people who are involved in cross-dressing and boys putting on makeup and pretending they're girls, that kind of thing. And there's this Mrs. Heinerscheid and her boss, Daniel Blake. These were the ones who developed this transgender program for Bud Light. And they have been put on a leave of absence. Now, it just shows the power of sexual deviancy over these corporations, that they wouldn't simply come out and say, we apologize, we have fired the people responsible for this program, we want nothing to do with it, we have nothing to do with promoting homosexuality, that's not who we are. That's not what they said. They said, well, we're going to put them on a leave of absence. We'll see if this thing dies down, and then we can, if it dies down, well, it's evident it's not going to die now. But at the time, nobody knew. Maybe it'd just be a flash in the pan. But what we see now is that Anheuser-Busch stock lost $2.5 billion near the time of this release. And then by April 12th, the amount they had lost in their stock value had gone to $5 billion in stock market loss. And perhaps for the long run, more important is that on April 21st, the New York Post reported that Bud Light had suffered a staggering 17% sales plunge. And what's happening, they're giving up market share to Coors Light and Miller Lite, which are both up by 18% in their sales. So it's not like beer sales have gone down. It's just Bud Light sales have gone down because they may market to transgendered, but at least in normal times, homosexuals historically make up about 3% of the population. The transgendered are a subset of that, which are just a fraction of 1%. So the idea that somehow you're going to increase beer sales by writing off the other 99.8%, and you're going to go after the 0.2% of people guys who like to dress like girls and wear lipstick and makeup, it ain't going to happen. And they're losing this market share. And hey, I like Miller beer. I like Coors beer. What's the difference? The only difference is that you just really don't want to be associated with this kind of sex deviancy. So now I'll just add, Donald Trump Jr., there's a lot of money at stake, a lot of political contributions. And he cautioned against destroying an American and iconic company for something like this. Well, no, Donald, we're not destroying Anheuser-Busch. We're not destroying Bud Light. they're destroying. They're committing suicide by trying to dominate us, politically dominate us, and force us to accept something that is antithetical to our religious beliefs and to just ordinary biology and common sense. So
well, the thing with that is that for Bud all the way to the top, they had to know what they were doing. Come on, the cans had to be produced with this picture on it. And so I think that's maybe one reason they haven't fired them per se, because it goes all the way up the food chain. They're all responsible. That's a big campaign. Has Bud ever had a campaign before where they put anybody's face on a can? You know, that alone, think about that. That was a first time thing all the way around, no matter who was on that can. So a lot of hands had to be involved. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times companies, when they're going for a really different campaign, they usually have a focus group. Who is their focus group? Do they really have a focus group? Because their customer base that is generally good old boy conservatives, there's no way that they would have approved something like this. And so I think, again, the big part of it is that they didn't fire them and more because that they would have to self-admit. But Donald Trump Jr., you know, to me, it's like you said, they didn't even come out and say, we made a mistake and we apologize to women. We don't believe in erasing women, the mothers of our children, etc. They could have taken this so many other ways. And interestingly enough, I don't know if you've ever paid attention to this, but generally when corporations do campaigns that we don't agree with, the actual Democrats are the ones that usually walk away from a brand and boycott it. We may talk about it as conservatives, but we still buy the product. This is the first time that there has been major backlash, and I think it's wonderful. And I don't care if Bud Light and Anheuser-Busch have been feeding Republican campaigns, because, again, that's dirty money at that point. So you're saying, oh, well, it's okay because they're giving. No, this to me is huge. And what I think is great about the campaign, it woke up America. It woke up the people in the country, in the smaller towns that haven't been paying attention, or just the everyday worker that, you know, didn't think anything about it, or that it was a small issue. So to me, in a way, I think they don't realize how brilliant they were. But on our side, it was brilliant because it woke up a country.
Well, we've become woke.
Well, yeah, we're unwoking. We're woken the right way, right?
We're woke up now, and now we're pushing back. Yeah, you know, I just thought I'd mention right here in Loudoun County, which really this is the spark that set off the whole war against transgenderism, sexual grooming of children by pedophiles in the public schools, and so now we're spending $11 million in order to allow boys to enter the girls' bathrooms. Well, they don't call them girls' bathrooms because they've done away with girls' bathrooms. They're unisex, and the school board is saying, well, look, we'll do them unisex. They're actually building stalls that will be ceiling to floor so that no one can even see your feet. But then a girl comes and she's brushing her hair at the sink, and then some tough thug comes in and stands 6 inches from her face and stares at her while she's doing it. I'm not sure that we want bathrooms to be places for bullying and intimidation in our public schools. What do you think about these unisex bathrooms that they're promoting in Loudoun County schools?
Well, I have many thoughts on it. In fact, I spoke at a school board meeting about it last night. And on basic level, outside of the sex piece of it, I played a tape from our sheriff's department where recently there was a 911 call at Sterling Elementary because a student had started a paper fire in a bathroom. And so in my speech, I said, what if you had these floor to ceiling stalls, right? What if there was a child in that bathroom, didn't smell the smoke, it didn't set off an alarm yet, and they could have been left in there to purge if the fire got out of uncontrollable. And then I said, and then what if a child had passed out in that stall for whatever reason? Mm-hmm. And again, there was this floor to ceiling stall, and there would be nobody to know that they had passed out. If it's the stalls that we currently have, somebody passes out, generally they fall to the floor. You can see feet, something, and you would know. And the part of the reason of those stalls is somebody can get on the floor and they could somehow get up in that stall and rescue somebody if you can't break that door down. So that person would potentially purge. There's nothing right about these. I did mention in the speech, though, as well, there's a teacher that she always comes, and she literally watches the clock so she can be the last speaker. And she always talks about, I see the LGBTQ people, I see you, I hear you, the students. And I said in my speech last night that I hear and I see the students that don't want anybody of the opposite sex in their bathroom. Mm-hmm. And I'm there speaking for them, and I see them, and I care about them as well as all students and their safety. And we have to ask ourselves over and over, what is the extreme need to do this to children? The Tally Ho, which is a venue here in Leesburg, had recently made their bathrooms that way. And I heard supposedly it's now a city ordinance. And a friend of mine was at an event earlier in the month there. And so he uses the bathroom, and another lady he knows uses the bathroom. So now they're at the sink there, and she's gabbing away to him, and he's like really uncomfortable. He's, I'm not used to being in a bathroom area with a woman there, even that I know is comfortable being there. And the other piece with this is this is just a pilot program at LCPS. So that $11 million is for, the number keeps changing, 4 to 6 schools. Okay, so you're looking at over $2 million to $2.75 million per school to do this. And it's a pilot. So what happens if there's a student that does die in there, that self-harms, that gets trapped, whatever, how many harmful things are going to happen to students before they reverse it? Because if it doesn't work, then don't you think it should be reversed? They treat this like it's a building of Legos, and it's not. And again, it's less than 1% of students that even identify as transgender. We have to stop throwing the money in our public schools into this and put it back in education and put children back where they all feel safe and comfortable. In fact, I was yesterday, as I was trying to decide what to write on for my speech, it was appalling as I looked in to see how many books in the schools are titled for either LGBT or transgenderism in the regular libraries. And the numbers were alarming in elementary, middle, and high school. One of the topics had over 8, so I looked either gay, or I looked up transgender, or I looked up LGBTQ. And one of them had over 800 titles. Wow. Just in the high school. And
really? 800 about
just with the word. I think that one was just with the word gay. I my notes nearby here. The other one was over 300. I think it was over 300 with transgender. There, I even looked up social justice. And so elementary, middle, and high schoolers have books, hundreds of books with social justice in their title. And
years ago, I was on the Loudoun County Library Board at a time when they were trying to introduce the internet was fairly new at that point, and they were trying to set up a policy that would allow children to come in and access pornography secretly, uh, forbidding parents to have any access to their children's records, and forbidding any sort of restriction at all on what the children could access. We fought a gargantuan battle over it, which eventually got me elected to the Virginia House of Delegates. But you look at where we have come. You know, when I went to school, I went to, schools in, different places, and there were no books about sex in the schools. Now I'm talking about normal sex. There weren't books about normal sex, and certainly there were not books about deviant sex, because it was criminalized, of course, and it remained criminal in most states until, or perhaps all states, until the Supreme Court issued a decree that said we're not going to allow states to uphold their laws anymore. And of course, that's created this flood of deviancy and perversion. And you've just literally got this new wave of teachers coming out of our teaching colleges who believe that education is secondary, indoctrination is the principal objective of the public schools, and the purpose is to cut them adrift from any sort of morality and decency. So it's interesting. I think you had mentioned something to me this morning about a comment by the president that had generated some controversy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's now saying that the teachers, the teachers are the parents when the kids are at school, and LCPS themselves, 2 years ago with the 80-40, they tried to say they were the second parents, and it's appalling. He says, our children, the children don't belong to the government, and they don't belong to the teachers, and they need to be reminded of that over and over. The other thing that they've been hitting this week, he has with Becky Pringle and Randy Weingartner, is about the books. They keep saying that, pretty much conservatives are book banning. Why would we keep books out of children's hands? So of course I hit them back, and I'm like, you all took textbooks out of our schools, which were learning for academics. You took textbooks out and you put the smut books in their place in the libraries. And, and then I posted one of the pictures of the graphic, the sexual picture. And that's not, and you want to call that literacy and literature that's necessary, and it's not. And actually two big organizations that are problems in our schools outside of the teacher unions are the superintendent associations, the school superintendent. And then the other huge one is ASCA, is the American School Counselor Association. They are the ones that are in front of the big part of all of these things happening within our schools. And Alvin from A Courage is a Habit, he has exposed a lot of ASCA and what they are bringing into our schools. Again, the whole guise of mental health. There's a program you should look up through ASCA called RAMP, and it is really what was behind putting the model policy together for Northam and 80-40. In fact, the American School Counselors Association is based out of here in Virginia, and I found out recently that they had made Loudoun County Public Schools, we were like the model school district to push and try all this stuff in.
We're the petri dish for all of this stuff. It's like all of the mold and garbage grows in the Loudoun County school system.
Yeah, and you know that this is the reason why so many people, you have to keep eyes on this. You have to watch it closely. We need to keep exposing this. We need to keep calling it out at school board meetings and calling it out publicly, getting it in our media. I was actually really happy to be at the school board meeting last night and see how many people were coming out to speak about the bathrooms. And again, we had the people also talking about special ed cuts and speech therapists. And so more and more people are coming in. I like to think it's because it has gotten into the local media and people are seeing that you know, there needs to be really big changes in LCPS because their focus is not on education. It's proven. It's on, again, unnecessary bathroom changes that actually will cause more danger to students, and sexualizing the education, and not curriculum, and helping children who need help with any challenges that they have. And the other piece we have to watch, what the left has done is they've taken mental health, the mental health term, and hijack that. And so they're like, we put more mental health care counselors in the school, more, and we're all like, yes, we need more mental health care. We need more access to mental health care. But it's not what you and I think it is. What it is it's really just a person to set you on track to make sure that you, if you have wrongthink, meaning you don't agree with your girl, and you don't agree with a boy being in your bathroom, be it you feel unsafe or you just think you shouldn't be there, they give you a number to call a mental health care line. So if you have an opposing view is what it is, imagine what they're going to say to you on that other line, because they're hired through the school system. Do you think that it's an open-minded mental health care line? And anyways, since when do we have a difference of opinion and we're told we need mental health care because of that difference of opinion?
Well, you know, this is something that I think back to the days of the old Soviet Union. And the Soviet Union was known for throwing people into mental hospitals if they had political disagreements with the party. And of course, the Soviet Union was, by constitution, was an atheistic government. And you look at it today, what's happened is we basically adopted the same things. We have become just intensely hostile towards religious faith, I shouldn't say religious faith, but extremely hostile towards Christianity. And at the same time, we're now saying, well, if you disagree with these faddish notions, then you must be mentally ill and you need to be treated. Maybe you need to be put behind bars because you've got the wrong ideas. We're moving so fast in that direction. And we have a comment from Lima Liskova. She says that you can get people to go along with child abuse. You can make them go along with anything. And that's really where we are right now. Is you would have thought in earlier times that this would just be a red line. The idea that you would groom children in public schools to make them more accepting of sexual advances by pedophiles, that would have been a red line that would have caused an earthquake. Today, a lot of people say, oh, well, you know, it's another way of expressing love. Well, there's a lot of different, you know, this word love is bandied around a lot. You know, don't worry about who you love. Well, there's a great deal of difference between love and perversion. And
Yes.
so I do appreciate so much what you and the people of the 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 Loudoun County organization are doing. And so we appreciate you being on today, and
Thank you.
it's just good that there are still voices of sanity like yours, and we appreciate it. It's so time consuming, requires so much energy and study and so forth to make these appearances before the Board of Supervisors. But I tell people, look, you may be very awkward speaking in public. You may not have the time or the background, but if you go in there and you simply go up to the podium and you say, I'm Mrs. Jones, and I want you to know I'm against these unisex bathrooms. I think that girls deserve privacy. Thank you very much. Just, I've been on the dais when thousands of issues have come up, and you take notice of the fact that there are lots of people, and lots of people maybe 6, maybe 8, maybe 10, but if they're real people, not lobbyists,
right,
real, real mothers, real parents, people with genuine concern, you start to take notice because you say, okay, that's what the community is thinking. So thank you very much for doing that. And thank you so much for being on with us today.
well, thank you.